morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and I've mentioned a couple of times that I've not shown you a winning Rapid Strike deck, which brings personal sadness to me, given my love for Rapid Strike Pokemon. Well, the good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that it seems like things are changing, and that Rapid Strike might actually be good after all. We have a winning Rapid Strike deck list, and I, for one, am delighted. Now, it is all built around Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. That is a particularly good Pokemon. And like we saw with the Single Strike, if we have a look at Urshifu V, it's not terribly impressive. It's not something that jumps off the page as being absolutely awesome. 1 energy, 30 damage, you may switch to the bench, fine but not amazing. 3 energy, 150 damage, fine but not amazing. Urshifu V, the Rapid Strike version, gets good when we get to the V Max. And what we've got here is 1 energy, 30 damage, meh. But if you became active during this turn, you instead do 150 damage. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is significantly better. That is a lot better. 150 single energy? Yes. Now, there is also another attack here, which is also really good. 3 energy, and you have to discard them all, and that's sad, etc. But you do 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So you take out a couple of bench Pokemon, or you finish off a Pokemon while taking out a weaker one in the active, or you finish off Pokemon in the active while taking out a weaker one on the bench, or you've done a couple of the attacks that do 150 and then you finish a couple of them off with this, or whatever. My point is that this is an attack that can absolutely make a humongous difference in the course of a game. This is the kind of thing that can absolutely win you the game. And this is your attacker here, make no mistake about it. This is an Urshifu VMAX deck. We've got the V, but the V really is to get you into the VMAX. The V itself isn't particularly great. And then we've got the VMAX coming in here, and that really is your main attacker. Hitting 150, and then just spreading damage to the bench. Now, it's not the only one we've got here, I should say. We do have others, and by others, I mean one other. We've got ourselves an Empoleon. An Empoleon's a really specific kind of Pokemon, but essentially it's got an ability that turns off the abilities of basic Pokemon that don't have a rule box, i.e. basic GXs, etc. will keep their abilities, but things like Jirachi absolutely will not. And there are going to be some matchups where your opponent is really relying on these abilities, especially in terms of setting up, and that will just shut them down and give you some easy wins. 3 energy, 130, moving energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench is fine if uninspiring. It's not really the reason we're playing it, but there will be some games where you can just shut down your opponent using Empoleon, which is why we play one here. Now, we do have a 2-2 line of Octillery, and I've said this all the way along, and it's an obvious thing to say. If you're playing a Rapid Strike deck, you need to play Octillery. Octillery's got the rather ridiculous Rapid Strike search ability that lets you once during your turn search your deck for a Rapid Strike card and put it into your hand. And this could be a Pokemon, an energy, more on that in a minute, a supporter card, more on that in a minute. It gets you essentially whatever you want. It is limited to once during your turn, so even if you've got a couple of Octillery out, you can still only use this once, but that shouldn't really worry you too much. It's phenomenal, and you should absolutely use it. We then see a couple of support Pokemon. So we got ourselves one Crobat V. When you play from your hand to your bench, draw till you got 6 cards in your hand. Pretty standard, sees a lot of play. But we also see a Jirachi GX, which is something I've seen popping up a little bit more often in Japan lately. And essentially, this just takes away any psychic weakness of any Pokemon. Yours and your opponent's. You're not attacking with psychic Pokemon, so that doesn't matter for you. But you've got one real attacker here. You've got one Pokemon with whom you're looking to attack, and it gives up free prizes and is weak to Psychic, Mewtwo and Mew. So being able to take away your weakness sounds like a pretty good thing to me. We've then got one copy of Galarian Zigzagoon. Drop a damage counter on one of your Pokemon when you play it from your hand to your bench. It's good if you're just a tiny bit shy of the numbers on any particular Pokemon. And then you've got, of course, Mew, which just sits there and protects your bench. Who doesn't love a little bit of Mew? Trick question. Everybody loves Mew. Now, moving over into energy, we do have Rapid Strike Energy here. We've got 4 of them, and you absolutely should. Rapid Strike Energy is 2 water/fighting energy in one card, which means that Empoleon is this plus 1 more energy, and Urshifu is this plus 1 more energy. It's how you can get away with using these more expensive attacks, because they're not free energy attacks, they are 2 energy attacks, and yes, easily searched out using Octillery. Yeah, that seems pretty good. We obviously have fighting energy here because Urshifu is your main attacker. No water. If you're using Empoleon, you're just relying on Rapid Strike energy, but that's fine. And then we've got Stone Fighting Energy, which is a fighting energy, but it reduces damage done to the fighting Pokemon it's attached to by 20. So this gives you a little bit of extra bulk. It means that you are going to survive a couple of hits that you maybe might not otherwise, which sounds pretty gosh darn good to me, quite frankly. Again, this is a matchup thing. It's not going to make a difference in every matchup, but there will be some matchups where this makes a genuine huge difference. So being able to do this is pretty gosh darn cool. Though do remember, if this is on Urshifu and then you use the second attack, you will discard it and you won't take less damage. You have been warned. Now, in terms of the supporter line here, there are a lot of things we would expect. We've got Professor's Research, discard your hand, draw 7 cards. We don't play a full 4 copies here. We're just playing 2 because we don't have a good way to recover Rapid Strike Energy, and Rapid Strike Energy is really important. So we play a couple, but it's a little bit muted. We do have 4 copies of Marnie. Both players shuffle their hands and put them on the bottom of the deck. You, assuming you played it, get 5 cards and your opponent gets 4. That's a pretty good thing to do. And then we've got 2 copies of Corinna's Corinna's Motivation, which is just a reprint of Bianca. You draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. But again, it's not a card that forces you to discard your hand, which can be huge, but also it is a Rapid Strike supporter card. And it doesn't do anything special for Rapid Strike Pokemon. There's no advantage that Rapid Strike Pokemon really get here, but what it does do is let you search it out with Octillery, because it's technically a Rapid Strike card. It's got that Rengeki logo in the top right-hand corner. So that sounds pretty good. Our stadium of choice here is Tower of Water. Tower of Water reduces the retreat cost of your Rapid Strike Pokemon by 2 colorless energy. And that gives free retreat to every single Pokemon in the deck that is a Rapid Strike Pokemon, your Empoleon, your Urshifu, your Octillery, etc., which sounds pretty good to me. In terms of Pokemon search, we've got 4 copies of Quick Ball, because Quick Ball searches out your basics. Why would you not play Quick Ball? Quick Ball is amazing. We have 1 solitary copy of Evolution Incense to search out evolutions, because you do play a bunch of evolutions here. And then we got 3 copies of Pokemon Communication, which swaps a Pokemon in your hand for one in your deck. Lets you get the right one. We do have 4 copies of Switch here, because you combine Switch with Tower of Water, and that gives you a lot of switching options, bearing in mind the first and honestly main attack here, the one you're going to use the majority of the time, forces you to switch in and out of the active in order to actually use it. So you can just retreat from one Urshifu to another, but sometimes you will need to go switching around as well. And then there's a whole bunch of little tricks, and there's more little tricks here than we generally see. So we see 1 copy of Tool Scrapper to get rid of your opponent's tools. We see 1 reset stamp to put your opponent down to a new hand equal to their remaining prizes. We see a copy of Fan of Waves here. This is the new item card that lets you put a special energy from your opponent's Pokemon back into their deck. But remember, even though it doesn't give any advantage to Rapid Strike Pokemon, it is a Rapid Strike card, so you can play 1 and search it with Octillery, which is quite nice. We've got one copy of Great Catcher to grab a Pokemon, GX from your opponent's bench and drag it into the active position. That seems like a pretty good thing. We've got 2 copies of Scoop Up Net, lets you pick up something like an Octillery that might be trapped in the active, but it also lets you reuse your Zigzagoon. And do remember, you do need to get in and out the active to reset Urshifu's first attack, so this is just another switching card in that regard. We've then got that lovely Scroll attack. Rapid Strike Scroll of Whirlpools. And it gives you a new attack that does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Just gives any of your Rapid Strike Pokemon an attack that will do 30 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. And a lot of the time, if you are slowing down your opponent's setup using Empoleon, spreading damage is actually going to be a better way to spend your time than using Empoleon's attack itself, which is cool. We've got one copy of Karate Bell, a tool that reduces your attack cost by 1 fighting energy if you're behind on prizes. And this is huge, because it means if you're behind on prizes, Urshifu VMAX can go Karate Bell, Rapid Strike Energy, discard them, and then do 120 to 2 Pokemon. And then there are 2 copies of Telescopic Sight. Now, remember, this is a tool, so it cannot be combined with either Karate Belt or single Rapid Strike Scroll. But what it does is it lets you do an extra 30 damage to benched Vs and GXs when you hit the bench, which is pretty awesome. And if you're using a second attack, this is probably going to be something you definitely want to do. Obviously, it would be great if you could use it with Karate Belt when it's essentially a 1 energy attack, but you can't. It would be great to combine it with the Rapid Strike Scroll so that you could spread 60, but you can't. It's 1 tool per Pokemon, but it's still really cool even outside of that. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I am still on Team Rapid Strike. It just looks like a better deck to me, although the results out of Japan are potentially proving me wrong. But either way, I'd love to know what you think about this, and I'd love to know how much you're loving it. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.